My wife is a very stubborn person. On New Year's Eve, she said she was going to dinner with her childhood friend and told me not to wait, but I heard her heart. Husband, be jealous, want to go together, right? Just say the word, I'll take you with me to show you that I'm just going to discuss business. Besides me and Chu and Gia, there are a few other women. Why haven't you spoken up yet? Yesterday you were drunk and called your ex-lover's name, intending to reconnect, right? I married you just for the sake of marriage. In fact, I don't love you at all. In my heart, I'm definitely thinking about divorce, with me to get back with my ex. Tomorrow I will prepare the divorce papers. It's because you don't love me. At first I intended to return to the room right away, but suddenly stopped, pulled her, who was standing at the door changing shoes, for 10 minutes back and then coldly said, "No, go to the reunion dinner, you must eat with me." The woman in the white fur coat frowned slightly, her eyes stopped on our clasped hands. The corners of the lips curled up a bit, but quickly disappeared. She pushed my hand away, her tone cold. "Be good, I'm going to discuss business. General Manager Vong is also present, we'll be back soon." This woman is my wife, Lu Nguyen. She has a tall, slim body, wearing a tight body dress that highlights her body curves. The face is beautiful and delicate, the eyes are flexible like clear autumn water, and the skin is white. The cold and indifferent temperament creates a feeling of being unapproachable. That cold appearance made me doubt whether the sound of my heart just now was something I imagined. I touched her chin, not sure if she really wanted to go or not, until her heart sounded again. As soon as I heard that General Manager Vong was also present, he didn't stop me anymore. He was probably afraid that if I didn't go, General Manager Vong would be unhappy and wouldn't invest in the Ko family in the future, right? As expected, money and work are more important than me. I'm just your tool to make money and attract investment. As soon as the heart's voice ended, Lu Nguyen glanced at me, her face expressionless. Then, she turned around to open the door. It's true that a person is cold on the outside and hot on the inside. On the outside he acts indifferent and doesn't care about anyone, but on the inside he's full of so many confusing thoughts that he can drown himself. Coincidentally, I like the strong possessive style, extremely suitable for a person like her. I picked up the remote control on the shelf, locked the villa door, pulled Lu Nguyen's hand, and dragged me into the kitchen. The tone was extremely domineering. "Don't leave, you have to stay home and cook for me. The maids have all gone back to their hometowns. Once you're gone, what will I eat in the kitchen?" Lu Nguyen took off her fur coat to reveal a white sweater inside. I chose a pink apron from the rack and wrapped it around her back to tie the slightly small apron. She looked extremely tight when she put it on. I looked at her with hot eyes and secretly poked her waist. Really soft. Lu Nguyen was holding fried sparrows and looking at the recipes on the table, so she didn't pay attention to my small action. Her eyebrows were tightly furrowed, her lips pressed into a stiff straight line, as if facing an enemy. Pork trotters, braised pork mixed with frozen meat. What are these dishes? Kogan doesn't like to eat greasy food. He will be angry when I make these dishes, but I have never been in the kitchen. If I don't follow the recipe and cook it. Why, if I refuse, will he be angry? If he's angry, he thinks about his ex-lover, and when he thinks about his ex-lover, he wants a divorce. My amused smile suddenly stopped, the corners of my eyes twitched slightly. What? I'm not a kettle that has so many things to be angry about every day. Lu Nguyen's heart was already tangled, thinking about thousands of things, but her expression was still cold as if nothing happened. There was only one drop of sweat slowly flowing from the nose to the tip of the nose. Delicately, I bowed my head and gently used a towel to help her wipe. While Lu Nuyen was still stunned, I conveniently took the fried rice in her hand. Okay, I know you don't know how to cook, can I make it for you? I cook very well. Having finished speaking, I took out a book on cooking nutritious stews from the cupboard. Lu Nuyen was stunned, replied okay, her round eyes open wide. But in my heart, I thought, love, it's so fragrant, the faint scent of cinnamon flowers is exactly like the scent of the perfume I gave you. On his birthday, it wasn't in vain for this gift, I had to give a new car to his best friend, after 3 years of marriage. This is the first time my husband has proactively been so close to me. Does he also have some feelings for me? Hearing that, my hand that was stir-frying food stopped in midair. I glared at Lu Nuyen, so angry that I couldn't stand it. You idiot. I've always wondered why my friend has suddenly been so generous lately. A new car just came out and he said he would buy it. Oh my God. If she had given that car to me, I would have been so happy that I would have kissed her. Yet when giving perfume, I had to pretend I accidentally left it in the car, then ask the driver to give it to the housekeeper. It passed from one person to another, and by the time it came into my hands, it was already the next day. Makes me think it's someone's trash. I'm so angry. We'll have to punish her to eat more pork leg meat later. Thinking that, my face turned cold and I added a few spoons of sugar to the braised pork leg dish. Lu Nuyen stood next to me and gave me a hand, frowning slightly. I added sugar just now. It will be very sweet. My face was emotionless and I replied coldly, it's okay, it's all for you to eat. I don't know if it was because the kitchen was too hot or not, but Lu Nuyen's face turned red. Then, she turned and walked out. Just when I thought she was angry, her voice rang out. This is the first time my husband has cooked for me. I can't disappoint him. I'll go to the insulin injection room first. Later, I have to finish the pig's feet he cooked. My hands shook, I almost dropped the pan to the ground. In the 3 years of marriage, we always sleep separately. Lu Nuyen has diabetes, but I didn't know it at all. The marriage between me and her was arranged by the family. The Lu family targets the new mineral mine that the Ko family discovered, and the Ko family wants financial support from the Lu family. Right on the wedding night, Lu Nuyen set 3 conditions. First, sleep in separate rooms. Second, the 2 corporations Lu and Ko must share resources with each other. The third thing is for me. I can offer any conditions. I haven't thought of the third one yet, so that spot is still blank for now. I had heard that Lu Nuyen had a childhood sweetheart, so when she suggested sleeping separately, I wasn't surprised. 3 years. After getting married, Nuyen was always cold towards me. On the contrary, she and the other Tamai Chukma continuously cooperated at work. The Ko family married with the Lu family, which is inherently high. The whole upper class said that after the 2 families finished cooperating, Lu Nuyen would definitely divorce me. They were all waiting to see me become a laughingstock. Waiting for me to be kicked away by the Lu family, waiting for me to fall straight into the mud from above. But they don't know that they are the biggest joke. Over the past 3 years, I have taken advantage of Lu Nuyen's relationships to gradually bring Ko Tea Group to a new level. Very soon, Ko Tea became the 2nd largest corporation in the city, only after Lu Tea. The kind of love that Lu like Yen doesn't value, in my Kogan's eyes, it's not worth a penny. But now, I can hear her heart again. It seems like she secretly developed feelings for me behind my back. After Lu Nuyen finished injecting insulin and went downstairs, I put all the food on the table. Her face was a little pale, but the corner of her lips still showed a faint smile. She picked up her chopsticks, intending to pick up a piece of pork leg braised with rock sugar. I immediately patted the back of her hand. Since childhood, Lu Nuyen has been a rich lady, has never done heavy work, and has extremely soft hands. So with just a light tap, the skin there turned red. Lu Nuyen's always cold face revealed warmth for the first time. She put down her chopsticks and sat there obediently, looking like a child who had done something wrong. She asked softly, "What's wrong?" But in my heart I thought, didn't my husband say this dish was made for me? Or is he angry because I didn't help him when I went upstairs, so he doesn't want to feed me anymore? Won't he take this opportunity to suggest a divorce? Lu Nuyen's pupils slightly dilated, carrying a trace of panic. I patted the red mark on her hand again, interrupting that line of nonsense thoughts. After that, I picked up some purple sweet potato balls and put them in her bowl. If your body is not in good shape, stop eating too sweet foods. These frugal dishes are also very delicious. Lu Nuyen quietly stared at the 2 potato balls in the bowl. Her face turned pink for just a second. From a nervous hedgehog, she turned into a shy little sheep. She picked up her chopsticks and picked up a piece of duck braised in wine for me. "Kogan, you should eat too." I didn't show any emotion, picked up the duck and put it in my mouth, chewed a few times and then frowned slightly. Sure enough, I accidentally added too much wine. Otherwise, what if I only ate 1 bite and my ears started to heat up like that? After eating, Lu Nuyen proactively cleaned up the dishes. I didn't feel safe letting a young lady like her work, so I pulled her down on the sofa and forced her to watch a horror movie with me. Half the movie passed, Lu Nuyen was still screaming in her heart. I tilted my head to look at her, her face was still cold as usual. She gently comforted me, "If you're scared, don't watch anymore." I clenched the controller in my hand, laughing until my stomach hurt. "I'm not afraid." "If you're afraid, go upstairs." Lu Nuyen turned pale and shook her head. "I'm not afraid." I laughed even harder. Before, why didn't I realize that Lu like Yen was so interesting? After watching half of it, it seemed like Lu Yen started to feel cold and kept staying close to my chest. The atmosphere at this time is a bit magical, very difficult to control. What's more, we're still a married couple who's been holding back for the past 3 years. When she was about to pull the fur coat on to put it on, my eyes darkened, stopping her. I pulled Lu Nuyen to sit on my lap, my fingers gently caressing her beautiful face little by little, making both of us itchy. In my mind, I have already thought of the 3rd thing in the agreement. Lu Nuyen hugged my neck and asked softly, "What is it?" I leaned close to her ear, my voice hoarse. "When I have a need, you have to satisfy me." Lu Nuyen was silent for a long time. Just when I felt disappointed, thinking she was about to refuse, her voice rang out, "Why hasn't this horror movie finished showing yet? The sound is so gloomy, I can't get excited." Normally, I would react if he just touched me a little, but it was so embarrassing. Looking at Lu Yen's plaintive eyes, I laughed and turned off the TV. "Stick your lips on hers. Is that okay now?" The next second, I carried Lu Nuyen upstairs. She also responded warmly. As soon as I entered the room, he pressed me down and kissed me. I pushed her away. "Let me change first." I opened the closet and took out the special outfit that I had kept for the past 3 years. Bought it 3 years ago, finally got a chance to use it today. As soon as she finished changing, Lu Yen's eyes immediately turned red. She pinned me down on the bed, her hands caressing my abs. I was both clumsy and didn't forget to set the condition, "Husband, so if I want you in the future, is it still possible?" I blushed and interrupted, "No, who said back then?" She still clearly stated in the contract that she had to sleep separately. It took me 3 years to endure it. Lu Nuyen kissed me even more intensely. In her heart, she heard again, "He's so evil, but I like him." Have I loved him to the point of ruin? Both are quite clumsy. The next day, I lay in bed and didn't wake up until noon. Lu Nguyen made breakfast for me, making the purple sweet potato dish I made yesterday. But it looked like a misshapen lump of dough, but looking at the beautiful face in front of me, I still ate happily. After 3 years of marriage, every Tet holiday, we went in different directions. Unless there is a new business cooperation, sitting at the same table to eat. But this year seems different. After the meal, I suddenly had an idea, pulled. Lu Nguyen went outside to build a snowman with her before heading out the door. Lu Nguyen used her scarf to wrap me tightly. I glanced at her. There are so many scarves in the house, why do we need to share them like this? Still, I went into the room to get one of my towels for her. Even though I'm an adult, my soul still stops at the age of 16. The unique scarf wrapped around Lu's neck like yen makes her white skin stand out even more. I blankly looked at Yen several times. White skin is truly beneficial. I'll have to punish her in a bit and give me a few more snowmen. Must be as beautiful as her. My hometown is in a southern province. Later, he followed his family to the north to do business. I've rarely seen snow in my life, let alone built a snowman. But Lu Nguyen is very proficient. Soon, 2 large snowmen and 1 small snowman were built. It looks like a family of 3. Lu Nguyen took off her scarf and wrapped it around the little snowman. Then she picked up 2 branches and stuck them into the snowman's body, looking like small hands. She turned her head to look at me, her face slightly red. I knew Yen wanted me to give her the scarf but still deliberately teased, "What are you looking at me for? Do you want to have a snowball fight?" After saying that, I rolled up a snowball and threw it at her, but because I wasn't used to playing with snow, I couldn't hit it. Accidentally threw it at a guy standing behind Lu Nguyen. At this time, Lu Nguyen also turned around. I was just about to apologize when the other guy glared at me. After that, he rushed to hug Lu Nguyen, his voice full of self-pity, "You're like Yen." Only then did I remember that he looked familiar. It turned out to be Lu's childhood friend like Yen, Chu Then. In Lu Nguyen's office, there are many photos taken with her family. I've seen it a few times, and that includes Zhoushen. Today is New Year's Day, heavy snowfall. The people in the photo are now hugging each other in the snow. I raised my head to look at the little snowman, wrapped in a white scarf and beautifully decorated. The tip of my nose suddenly stings. At this moment, I heard Lu Nguyen's heart again. "It's so cold, why is Zhoushen going out? It's so cold that you can cut meat, what if you catch a cold?" The cold north wind is bone-chilling. Countless thoughts flashed through my mind, and in the end there was only one thought left. Lu Nguyen and I are husband and wife by contract. Logically, we should not interfere in each other's personal matters. But I hate being lied to. Just as I was about to step up and ask for clarification, Chu then let go of Lu Nguyen, and he stood vigilantly in front of her like a ruffled hedgehog. As the saying goes, Yen's 3-year contract is about to expire. Whoever she likes, whoever she wants to be with, I have no right to interfere. With this posture, these words are like declaring bluntly to me that he and Lu Nguyen are a match made in heaven, and I am just the third person. But that's not for him to decide. I want to hear what Lu Nguyen say from his own mouth. I looked towards her, asking if that was true. "Do you really not like me at all?" Chu then looked at Lu Nguyen. The cold wind made his face pale. With his big round eyes sparkling with anticipation, he held Lu's hand like Yen cautiously. Lu Nguyen looked awkward but in the end did not withdraw his hand. She sighed and said to me, "As the saying goes, can you go in first?" Chu then immediately smiled proudly, holding Lu Nuyen's hand tightly like a rooster that had just won victory. Something inside me broke at this moment. My heart felt like it had been torn into a pink hole. The cold wind kept blowing in. Even though Lu Yen's face was full of insecurity, her eyes even carried a bit of pleading. Even though her heart continued to explain, he must have misunderstood me. But I really have no other choice. Chu then was subjected to domestic violence. After divorcing that bad woman, he was mentally very unstable. As long as he was rejected, he would lose control. He had attempted suicide many times, but he was able to get back up with difficulty. Yesterday it was also the first time he went out to discuss business matters. After the divorce, he originally wanted me to go with him to help regain his confidence, but I really couldn't bear to leave him, so I let my brother Chu then go instead. I didn't expect him to come here today. Hearing these voices, I partly understood the origin of the story. But I'm still very disappointed. What if I don't hear her voice? Can't we face difficulties together? But all of this cannot be a reason to hurt me. I coldly glanced at Lu Nuyen, tightened my scarf, then turned and walked into the villa. I sat on the sofa, reading a book. Not long after, Lu Nuyen led Chu then inside. I originally intended to go upstairs, but when I reached the stairs, I heard Zhoshan groaning. The next second, Lu Nuyen's worried voice rang out, "Is the wound open again? There's no medical kit at home, let me go out and buy medicine." A pair of eyes followed closely behind me, but I only focused on walking upstairs, not turning back. Not long after, I heard a sigh. The villa door was opened again. Lu Nuyen went to buy medicine. My steps were originally heading towards the study room, but I suddenly changed direction towards my bedroom. I opened the cabinet and took out the medical box. As soon as I turned around, I saw Chu then standing in front of the door, looking at me with tears in his eyes. Opening his mouth, he immediately asked, "When do you plan to divorce Nuyen?" I coldly looked at him, feeling funny. "What's wrong? Are you planning to take my place as Nuyen's husband?" Zhoshan almost reflexively exclaimed in surprise, "How do you know?" I raised my eyebrows and didn't answer. I don't know if it was accidental or intentional. The story of Chu then K's kiss was kept very secret by the Chu family. Even when he divorced, it was quiet, no one knew. Chu then gritted his teeth and said, "Anyway, Nuyen and I truly love each other. If you know what to do, leave quickly." His face seemed even paler than when he was outside. The sound of liquid dripping on the wooden floor rang out. I followed the sound and saw drops of bright red blood dripping from Chu Than's sleeve. His face was panicked, his pale fingertips twitched, wanting to hide, but he couldn't hide anything. I took a cold breath and pulled his hand. The sleeve slid up to reveal blood-soaked bandages on his bare arm, covered with bruises that had not yet fully healed. At that moment, another train of thought rang out. Surely he was laughing at me. Considered by the family as a marriage tool, marrying a bad woman. Even basic freedoms are absent. I even had to threaten them with death before they would let me go out. But I'm really jealous. Why was he married to Nuyen in the same business marriage? Anyway, he doesn't like Nuyen, she doesn't love him either, so it's okay to give it to me. I raised my head and saw Chu Than's eyes looking at me. Both resentful and jealous, as if filled with venom. He really hates me. I forcefully pulled Chu Than to sit down. The medical box started applying medicine and bandaging him. I don't have too much confidence in someone who abandoned me, but Chu Than reminds me of my biological mother who passed away. My mother's first marriage was also to a bad man, and I was the child forced to be born in that marriage. So my mother never showed me any tenderness. Later, that man died, My mother remarried my current great-grandfather, and I was abandoned in an orphanage. My great-grandfather was a very affectionate person. He often secretly helps me. Unfortunately, those peaceful days did not last long. My mother passed away due to past trauma. Before she died, she asked my father to bring me home to raise me as an adult. But even as she was about to die, she refused to see me one last time. Reminiscing about the past, my hand unconsciously tightened. Chuthan lost too much blood, his whole body was weak. At first, he obediently let me apply the medicine, but when I hurt him, he immediately opened his mouth to protest. "What are you doing so hard?" "So should I tell you?" That year, the person assigned to marry Nguyen was originally me, but because she had to cooperate with the Ko family, she was forced to marry. And I have to marry Tam Tan. Nguyen always feels sorry for me. After you two divorce, she will definitely marry me. I carefully bandaged Chuthan's wound. Hearing this sentence, he couldn't help but laugh. "So you plan to rely on a woman's affection to live your whole life?" Chuthan choked, his pale face turned red, and he stammered. "Nguyen and I truly love each other. Whether Lu Nguyen loves him or not, I understand better than anyone. But compared to that, I care about something else. Do you always have to rely on women to live like that? If only you listened to me, you would have a better life." Chuthan rolled his eyes. "On what basis should I listen to you?" His face was full of caution, clearly seeing me as an enemy. Snowflakes quietly flew in from outside the window and landed on Chuthan's hair. I smiled. "Based on the fact that I can help you escape the control of the Chu family and build your own career, which Lu Nguyen cannot do." Chuthan was silent. He knew I really had this ability. It took the Ko family less than 10 years to rise from an unknown family to their current position in the city. It's not a coincidence. After my mother passed away and my father tried to go bankrupt, we moved to this city when we were 15 years old. I followed my father everywhere to discuss business matters. More than half of the achievements that the Ko family has today are thanks to me. Compared to Lu Nguyen, who is always bound by a complicated family and cannot do anything freely, I have much greater decision-making power and freedom of action. Chuthan secretly glanced at me, hesitated for a long time, then decided to tell the truth. After I married Tam Tan, I realized that she had a strange and chaotic personality. A month ago, she brought another man home to have sex right on our bed. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I called to confide in Nguyen. Unexpectedly, she came straight in and broke Tam Tan's leg. Speaking of this, Chuthan choked up, but his tone carried a bit of gloating. "I just feel amazed. I didn't expect Lu Nguyen's martial arts to be so powerful. It's just a pity that there's another man in my heart." Quietly over another amount. Although Chuthan is unreasonable and arrogant, his abilities are not ordinary. In recent years, he has built a reputation in the marketplace, winning many big deals. It's just a pity that before he got married, he devoted himself to the Chu family. After getting married, he sacrificed his life for the Tam family. In the end, still just a lonely person. And the Ko family is planning to expand its market abroad, right at the time when talent like him is needed. I gave Jochen a check. "I will arrange for you to go abroad to manage the Ko family's branch. I can also help you with the matter of the Chu family and the Tam family. Once you go there, what your bowl will be is up to you to decide." After listening to me, Chuthan's face became much rosier. Even the fatigue from blood loss gradually disappeared. He bit his lip, hesitant. After a long time, he said, "You have helped me with such a big thing, I also have to help you with something." I raised my eyebrows. "Can he help me?" Chuthan glanced around, then leaned close to my ear and spoke softly. "I can see, You also like Lu Nuyen. The soft breath blowing into my ear made my heart actually skip a beat. Let me tell you. Actually, there is a Bach in Lu Nuyen's heart. He likes to wear white shirts. Don't ask me how I know. After all, in college, when I was traveling, I asked Lu Nuyen to choose clothes for me. She chose like that. From then on, as long as I dressed like that, she never refused me. You can try anything. Although being a substitute is not interesting, as long as it achieves the goal. Then everything is worth it, right? Looking at Chu Than's famous face, I couldn't help but laugh. It turned out to be the White Light Man. No wonder. Compared to what Chu Than imagined, Lu Nuyen and I actually knew each other many years earlier. I was 16 years old. We met for the first time. At that time, the Ko family shouldered a huge debt. Ko's father decided to take a risk and bet all his last capital on the favor of the Lu family. The bet is a block of rough stone worth 5 billion. Lu's father is passionate about jade but does not like to bet. Ko's father also did not want to cut the stone on the spot for fear of losing money. Anyway, if it hasn't been cut, it can still be resold at a low price. But if it was cut out and turned out to be just a worthless rock, the Ko family would truly be finished. I spent a week reading all the books about jade and even running around the city to research gems. After I firmly grasped it in my heart, I brought the stone to the Lu family every day to convince them. Father Lu was so annoyed by me bothering him that he finally agreed to cut the stone on the spot. As expected, the stone has a very high value. Lu's father was happy and insisted that I stay for dinner, and that was also the first time I met Lu Nuyen. She wore a long white dress, her delicate face exuding the charm of a rich lady. She stood on the second floor. I don't know how long she watched me. As for me, I was sweating profusely, my white shirt was soaked with sweat, my hair was messy. The little lady and I looked at each other for a moment. It seemed a bit unnatural. After hesitating for a while, she finally came downstairs and gave me a pure white handkerchief. I calmly accepted it, smiled and said thanks. Thank you. Lu Nuyen's face immediately turned red and he hesitantly asked, after selling this block of stone, will you still come here in the future? I thought for a moment and then replied, if we continue to cooperate in the future, of course we will come. Lu Nuyen's thin lips curled slightly. She gently nodded. So, 3 years later, the Lu family targeted the first piece of land that the Ko family bought, becoming the first investors. 5 years later, the Lu family cooperated with the Ko family to build the largest hotel in the city. 10 years later, the Lu family wanted to buy back the mineral mine of the Ko family. He even suggested connecting to try to have sex together. Neither Lu Nuyen nor I refused. Shouchen has been gone for a long time, but Lu Nuyen has not returned yet. I felt uneasy, so I called her. Lu Nuyen answered the phone very quickly, but was silent for a long time before saying, the surrounding pharmacies are all closed. I drove out, but the car broke down in the middle of the road. After speaking, the other end of the line fell silent again. I couldn't help but laugh. Today is Lunar New Year. My father never took me back to his hometown, and the Lu family only gathered for a New Year's Eve meal and then everyone went home. Lu Nuyen and I have nothing to do, but the car repairmen must have all gone home for Tet. Even though I couldn't hear her thoughts, I could somewhat guess Lu's current mood like Yen. Maybe she was afraid that I would think she was annoying, so she didn't dare call for help. I decided to completely cure Lu Nuyen's stubbornness, so I deliberately said, oh, then you just wait there. Anyway, I've already finished bandaging Chu then. I just heard there was something I wanted to find Tameo Chu, but I saw you weren't home yet so I just asked the question. Tam Ao-so is my ex-lover and also Tam Tan's cousin. Currently the person in power in the Tam family. The person on the other end of the line remained silent. I continued, then I'll hang up. Lu Nuyen frantically said, Don't, Kogan. Can you come pick me up? We can go look for Tam Ao-chu together. I turned the car key and raised my eyebrows. Oh, what identity do you take? Anyway, when the contract expires, we will divorce. Why do you control me so much? Looks like she's no longer in the car. The sound of the rushing wind entered the microphone. Lu Nuyen's steady voice mixed with a bit of urgency. No. I don't want a divorce. Regarding Chuthan's matter, I will explain everything to you. Is that okay? Just don't divorce me. Outside the window, snow fell gently with the wind. In front of the car door, a woman wearing a white feather coat, holding a phone, her body stiff. She slowly turned her head, her delicate face turned red due to the cold, looking at me bewilderedly through the car window. Right after that, a voice filled with surprise and joy rang in my head, Dear husband. I felt uncomfortable, frowned, covered my ears. I hate these types of people who are cold on the outside and hot on the inside. Lu Nuyen wanted to sit in the passenger seat, but I locked the car door, rolled down the window and calmly said, Sit in the back seat. I have to pick up someone later. Lu Yen's eyes turned red immediately. Who are you picking up? Is it Tam Ao-chu? I glanced at her leisurely, neither denying nor admitting. Lu Nuyen immediately became panicked, to the point of wanting to climb in from the window. No, we won't divorce. Tam Ao-chu, don't try to sit in that position. Unless I die. Seeing that she was really about to climb into the car, I unlocked it and pretended to be serious. Okay, get in the car. Women are so troublesome. Lu Nuyen got in the car, the tip of her nose was so cold that it turned red, and she still felt a little angry. She sat there, bit by bit telling me bad things about Tam Ao-chu. Her family runs a nightclub, her family background is not clean, and she has a hot temper, easily exploding like fireworks. I drove quietly, not paying attention to her until I got there. I picked up a small dog from the pet store and stuffed it into Lu's arms like Yen, since you've taken its place, please hug it. Lu Nuyen was stunned and received the small dog in her two hands. His face was a bit surprised at first, then gradually a red glow of confusion appeared. Seeing that, I couldn't help but laugh. Actually, we can't blame Lu like Yen for being too wary of Tam Ao-chu. Anyway, that year Tam Ao-chu and I actually got closer to getting married. Moreover, this matter was so disturbing that the whole city knew about it. After arriving in the city, I was transferred to Tam Ao-so's class, and in college we had the same major. During the 10 years we knew each other, Tam Ao-so confessed his love to me 3 times. The first time was when I was in high school and I refused for academic reasons. The second time while I was in college, I was too busy with my family's business, so I refused again. The last time, I tried dating her for a month, but it still ended in failure. I don't really have any feelings for you, I said with regret and annoyance. Maybe it's due to genetics, Tam Ao-chu's temper is quite hot, but that day she was especially gentle. My family is urging me to get married. If you come home with me this year and help me solve this problem, I will never bother you again, okay? I agreed immediately, but did not know that she had already prepared a trap. The moment I entered the Tam family's door, wedding invitations were sent to all the famous families in the city. The media even simultaneously reported and congratulated the alliance between the Tam family and the Ko family. Finally, it was an account with an unknown IP address that sent me a message asking, in a warm tone, is it true? Only then did I know everything. Tamao Chu guessed that the Ko family would be afraid of losing face, so I would definitely grit my teeth and endure. But she was completely wrong. The Ko family actually only has me and Ko's father. Dad's just afraid I'm not happy. As for me, I only make others lose face. That evening, I posted a correction and announced that I would cut off relations with Tamao Chu. At that time, the Tam family and I were discussing business. To appease me, Tamao Chu ceded 2 parts of the profit. Even though there was no damage, this incident still became a thorn in my heart. Every time I remember it, it makes me angry. Last night, Lu Nuyen heard me call Tamao So's name. Perhaps it was because he was drunk that he remembered this. Thinking back, the account with the unknown IP address was most likely Lu Nuyen. I glanced at the passenger seat while driving. The small dog lies on its belly on the woman's lap. A person and a dog both stared at me, their eyes identical. It reminds me of 3 snowmen. The morning had not yet finished responding, and by the time we got home, it was already late afternoon. Normally, Lu Nuyen should have started preparing the New Year's Eve meal, but she still stared at me, making me suddenly feel a little restless. My mind was filled with images of the body I touched last night. Therefore, I raised my hand to cover Lu's eyes like Yen, without warning, "Don't look at me like that." Lu Nuyen pushed my hand down, lowered his eyes, and said nothing. I immediately realized that her old illness had begun to recur. Sure enough, her heart rang out, "He's already slept with me. So why hasn't he mentioned anything about going to a New Year's Eve party together yet? Is he just playing with me? If I were the one to speak, would he be angry? Loving someone means you will become cautious, but if you are too stubborn, you will lose your husband. At times like these, my ex-girlfriend comes in handy." So I pretended to pick up the phone and said, "Hello." Tamo touched my phone and was snatched by a long, slender hand. Lu Nuyen pushed me down on the sofa, sat on my lap, pulled my hand and placed it on her waist, her tone full of seduction. "Today is New Year's Eve. I'll come to your house for dinner." "Of course, okay?" Feeling the sensation in my palm, I swallowed my saliva, finally succumbing to the damn beauty. I will definitely eat her when I return. The Lu family is a large family. In addition to Lu's parents like Yen, there are also uncles, aunts, and her siblings. The whole party saw me coming. Lu's father Yen was very happy, even drinking a few more glasses of wine, but the atmosphere at the dinner table was not exactly happy. Because when the Lunar New Year comes, there are always many accounts to settle. In the middle of the party, I felt stuffy, so I went out of the villa. Suddenly, I saw a familiar figure outside the fence, under the dim streetlight, the figure of a woman looming. After greeting the bodyguard, she went inside. When she saw me, her eyes lit up. As the saying goes, "It's the first Tam, why is she here?" Tam Cub wanted to hug me, but I avoided him. She hid her embarrassment and asked, "Why did you come to the Lu family today?" It seems like she's been following me all these years. She even knows very clearly whether I'm coming to have a New Year's Eve dinner here or not. This is my house, of course I have to come here to celebrate Tet. What about you? Are you here to discuss business? Recently, the Tam family has encountered many difficulties, and several large contracts have been robbed. So it's not strange that she had to run a business at night due to redundancy. Tamo Tu's face stiffened. "What's the house, Guyen? Are you kidding me? You and Lu like Yan are just a commercial marriage. How can they be your family?" I was too lazy to pay attention to her and was about to turn back when Tam Cub grabbed my arm and her voice calmed down. "When you called me today, I immediately arranged a flight to take Tam Tan abroad. Don't joke anymore. Tell me when you will divorce Lu like Yan. Let's go back, okay?" Tamton's story is because I exchanged 2 parts of the profit from the new cooperation contract. How could the younger Tam be so shameless as to want both of them? Before I could refute, someone suddenly hugged my arm from behind. It's Lu Nguyen. She glanced at the young Tam coldly and said, "My husband and I have to go home. Miss Tam, please feel free." After saying that, she pulled me straight to the garage. Lu Nguyen drives the car. All along the way, he didn't say a word to me, but inside his heart kept jumping. Sometimes he cursed Tam, sometimes he blamed me for not loving her. Gives me a headache. Add to that the old grudge from this morning. I went home without saying a word and went into the bedroom. By the time Lu Nguyen ran over holding a blanket, I had already locked the door. It was still very noisy outside, and in my mind there was even the sound of a dog barking. Young child, I've already showered and changed my lace dress. Yet my husband doesn't love me anymore? Woof, I'm much better than that little Tam girl. Open the door and take a look. I don't believe you can be so heartless. Woof, yesterday it was early and late at night, you still called someone honey, today you cruelly lock someone outside the door. What an ungrateful thing. Woof 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 woof, this bad thing. I covered my nose, opened the door and pulled the scantily clad person inside. The dog's barking has not stopped, sometimes mixed with the sound of claws scratching on the door. I opened the door again and pulled the fat dog inside. Lu Nguyen was very stubborn, constantly asking me if I liked Tam Cub Nun or I liked her. Right now I just want to enjoy, don't want to answer. But who would have thought Lu Nguyen would be so stubborn? If you don't get an answer, don't stop. Having been tortured by her to the point that I had no other choice, I had to seriously explain the matter between me and Tam Cub once again. After listening, the corner of her lips curled up slightly. Other than working harder to please me, there was no other response. But inside her heart, she was in turmoil. It turned out that my husband was also my first love. Oh my God, I've been waiting for him for 10 years. Just thinking about having to listen to such loud inner monologues for the rest of my life makes me feel hopeless. Oh, she came into my arms and lazily said, "Lu Nguyen, if you continue to be stubborn like that, I will really leave you." The next day, Lu Nguyen tore up the previous contract. We officially became husband and wife. I always thought Lu Nguyen was a stubborn person. It wasn't until I followed her to a business negotiation and witnessed her calm but decisiveness in the marketplace that I understood that her stubbornness was just for me. So, to protect my ears for a long time afterward, I tried to correct Nguyen's stubborn habit. Gradually, I could no longer hear her heart. That's right. A woman who does not cause trouble for her husband is a good woman. So, on the first night that I wasn't bothered by her voice, I gave Lu Nguyen a passionate kiss. At that time, Lu Nguyen was drinking water when he was suddenly kissed. Water flowed from his chin to his collarbone. She put down the glass of water and squeezed my waist. Helpless voice, "Dear husband." I leaned close to her ear and whispered, "Nguyen, do you want it?" The woman's eyes suddenly became dark. I smiled, stepped back from her arms, winked mischievously, "I'll wait for you in the bedroom, remember to wear the clothes I just bought." Are there any other clothes on the sofa? Well, it's just a little fun between husband and wife. If the youth of life is a tightly tangled ball of thread, then I am the strong wind that will gradually loosen it. In heaven and on earth, we are a perfect couple. Thank you for watching the video. If there is any good story that hasn't been posted yet, you can comment below to let me know.